Technically, all artworks are made out of these marks and effects. Straights, curves, tones, and gradients. Master them, and the technical side will become much more manageable. Whether you want to be a classical painter, a modern illustrator, or a concept artist, you will use these 4 marks and effects constantly. For example, you will use curves a lot if you want to draw people, characters, creatures, animals, plants, or any other organic thing. It will be very important. The straights. The straights would be used a lot for more mechanical or man-made objects, like buildings, vehicles, weapons, and more geometrical shapes. The tones you will use in places where there is not a lot of color or brightness variety going on, or in vector art, or cel-shaded styles, like cartoons and even some anime. And finally, gradients. These ones you will use to make things look realistic, three-dimensional, and have them feel like they have form, or to make cool light effects and fancy things like that. So, take your ghetto-looking papers and sketchbooks out and let's practice. Straights. Practice drawing straight lines. Make sure to pivot from the elbow and draw with your whole arm rather than just the wrist, so you can make longer and steadier lines. Practice them doing in most directions, horizontal, vertical, diagonal. Try also placing down 2 dots and connecting them with a line. Start from one and get to the other, trying to get as close as possible. Do 10, 50, 100 straight lines every day. Curves. Practice curves the same way. Pivot from the elbow. Draw circles, a lot of them, all kinds of sizes. Draw ellipses, pay attention to the long sides, the short sides. Don't make the turns too sharp. Draw circles between straight lines, touching the lines, trying to not go over them or under them. Also place down 3 dots and try to connect them with a smooth curve. Accuracy and smoothness is what we're aiming for here. Don't worry if they're not perfect, as long as you keep attempting they will get better, more accurate and more controlled. Also, draw more curvy curves, less curvy curves, connecting them in one spot if you want. Draw curves parallel to other curves, and do a bunch of these. Do like 10, 20 circles, ellipses, plus 10, 50, 100 curved lines daily. Tones. Tones are shapes of uniform color, brightness and saturation. This is a tone. This is not a tone. This is no variety. This is all the variety. Now variety will be more subtle in reality, but we want to learn and practice to minimize them as much as possible so we have more control and have a cleaner drawing. To practice, draw blobs of tones, trying to keep them of steady brightness. Draw a random shape, fill it in with a tone. You can even fill in the shapes that you might see from drawing all those straight lines and curves. Try to stay within the shape, like back when we were kids and filled in coloring books. Or maybe a little bit more precise. Make a value scale. Draw 5, 10 boxes and fill them with tones, going from the brightest tone to the darkest tone you can get out of your tools. Try to make them as uniform as possible. Keep practicing until you can consistently make them uniform. Gradient. A gradient is when mama tone and papa tone get close to each other and they unite, making a smooth transition. These gradients have a bigger role. They make things look fancy and 3D. They might be tricky at first, but once you get the hang of them, they will be much smoother to deal with. Practice them the same way as tones. Draw shapes, fill them with gradients, going from one tone to the other. Take the value scale and make it again, but now with the smooth transitions between the tones, going from bright to dark. With a pencil, start making more light touches, making a lighter tone, and then going over it again, pressing the pencil down slightly harder will help you get the darker tones. Digitally, you achieve these transitions by blending the tones together. You blend by taking one of the tones, going over the other tone with pen pressure or opacity, where the two meet. Then taking the result of that and doing the same to the edges where the resulting tone meets the other two original tones, and so on. Work with the edges on both sides, and soon enough you have a smooth transition. Gradients work with colors too. Make the transition longer or shorter. The length of the transition usually defines how quickly a form turns or how something fades out. Practice. Take the value scale and make a smooth transition version under it, keeping the tones above it so you can see around how dark you need to be in a specific spot. You can also number the values and select any two of them, paint the transition between them in a smaller box, like going from value 5 to value 10 to value 2 to value 4, 1 to 8, 5 to 7, or any combination of your choice. Keep practicing until you can consistently and reliably make smooth transitions. All these practices and exercises, do them mindfully, with control. Not too fast, not too slow. We want to develop skill. Skill is control. It's reliable and mostly consistent. If you go too slow, your hands might be shaky and prone to error. If you go too fast, the lines will be lucky and not controlled. We want to become skilled, not lucky. Also, don't chase the number. Don't do 100 rushed, sloppy lines. 10 mindful and controlled lines will be much more useful. Quality over quantity. So practice. Hope it will help and hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any thoughts or suggestions for videos you would like to see, make sure to leave them in the comments below. And for now, go develop that skill and have a fantastic day. A big shout out to my Patreon Navani Art. Your support is immensely appreciated. If you want to support as well, or you want to learn art, the link is in the description.